In our other top story, Hawaii Republicans are riding on a message of being fed up about the high cost of housing.
They presented their legislative priorities with a tough-talking housing developer by their side. Mahealani Richardson has the story.
Hawaii Republicans acknowledge that the Democratic majority will likely ignore their ideas, but say today's press conference was more about sending a message, which included bold legislation and unfiltered language.
If you don't do housing, get the hell out of office.
Show of hands. How many people live with their parents still?
Solve the problem. Cut out the bull. Solve the problem.
Affordable housing developer Peter Savio became the highlight of Republicans' message before the start of Hawaii's legislative session.
Instead of giving all the tax benefits to the wealthy mainland haole, keep them for our people and subsidize housing.
With the median price of a home over $1 million, Savio called rental buildings and their political supporters evil and says it's tenants who should own buildings. Republicans say they'll reintroduce a bill to create a local housing market separate from the rest of the market and call for a resolution asking the federal government to change the tax code.
Imagine if you got to write off that $1,000 utility bill every single month. Add that number up, and that's what the government would be paying for come tax time.
Is it realistic to think that the federal government would support this when there have been so many cutbacks?
I'm actually saving the federal government money.
We are the minority. We don't have the votes to pass legislation or kill legislation. When the people hear this common sense solution, they'll fall in line, they'll support this.
Crowd members, including a likely candidate for governor, Gary Cordery, said they liked what they heard.
So would this go anywhere? It will go somewhere because it's about illumination.
Savio also used the opportunity to promote his upcoming book. The start of the legislative session is next week, Wednesday. Reporting from the state capitol, Mahealani Richardson, Hawaii News Now.